There's no reason to take for granted that there's universal jurisdiction implied in the primacy, especially when you have phenomena like the Pope Gregory the Great saying, Gregory the Dialogist saying there's no universal bishop. Mm-hmm. And I thought that the efforts of various apologists to explain that away were extraordinarily unconvincing.
Interesting.
I was also aware that there were Catholic apologists who said this was not an ex cathedra statement, which of course is practically a universal fallback, a Catholic fallback, you could say, in explaining away these kinds of things, but also that he obviously did not mean the statement in a monothelite way, since he was speaking about will with a different connotation from actually the possession of a human will. But it seemed to me that those objections ultimately were off the point, because he was ultimately condemned by the council itself, which showed that they thought that it was possible to condemn a pope for heresy in an ecumenical council, which nowadays in the Roman Catholic framework, if they have what they would call, and if they had a Vatican III, for example, of another ecumenical council at this point, it would be inconceivable that they would condemn a pope for heresy. And so it seemed to me that the whole episode, whatever one may think of Pope Honorius' statement, which I do think ultimately is heretical on its face, but that's really not the point. Whatever one may think of it, it showed that it was a very different ecclesial environment in 680 from what it is in 2022 or in 1870 or 1965. We're in a completely different situation in terms of what the authority of the church is considered to be. And I have to also add in that these are very important questions, not just as a matter of who's right and who's wrong, and who should back down and apologize and who should not, if there's ever to be any genuine or lasting reunion between the communions. It's much more than that, because, well, I tell you, one of the instances that propelled me to undertake this study in the first place was when I had a debate, and you can find this debate on YouTube. It's still there as far as I know. I haven't looked lately, but I had a debate with Monsignor Stuart Strickland, who is the president of a Roman Catholic college in Kansas, I believe, and we debated on Islam. And of course, I've written, as you noted at the beginning, quite a bit about Islam, and so he was contending that Islam was a religion of peace, and I was contending that it's not, based on the content of the Islamic texts. Now, the point is that he was arguing not only that I was wrong, but that I was a heretic. And he said that I was a heretic because, he said, several popes have affirmed that Islam is a religion of peace. And the Second Vatican Council says that you have to obey the popes even when they are not speaking ex cathedra, if there is a statement that is frequently repeated, and so on. And so it occurred to me at this point, I was rather dumbfounded that he could say that I was a heretic for something that's not a matter of the Christian faith at all, but a matter of another religion. That what he was saying was essentially that you have to obey the Pope and agree with the Pope no matter what, in any situation. And it seemed to me this is a clear deformation of the idea of authority in the church, and that the idea that the Pope can say anything about anything, and that if he repeats it often enough, and if several popes agree with him, then you have to go along. That this was clearly something that could lead people drastically astray, and might even endanger their souls. And that it was therefore the question of authority was not just a matter of ecclesiastical one-upmanship or debate ability or argumentation. It was something much larger than that.
It really goes to the identity of the church, which means the identity of Christ himself.
Yes, because
Christ's body, Christ is the head of the church. And so when you say that this one bishop is now infallible, essentially, practically, even though he's not, quote, ex cathedra, as they always like to say, but here you're saying, no, it's far beyond that. And he's quoting councils, First and Second Vatican councils, that are saying beyond the strictly defining the dogma, that those subject of the Pope must obey him no matter what. I mean, that is, I think many today would be dumbfounded in Catholicism to hear that as you know, that is the case, especially with somebody like Pope Francis, who many traditional Roman Catholics are quite disturbed by in terms of his positions. Yeah,
I was deviating from Pope Francis' line on Islam. And so consequently, they didn't want to run it. And so here again, I thought, well, you know, what Pope Francis thinks about Islam is not the Christian faith. It couldn't possibly be the Christian faith, because Islam is not the Christian faith. But as far as they were concerned, it was something that they had to go along with. And I thought, this is a very dangerous path that could lead people into all manner of errors.
Indeed.
And that's so strange, you know. I remember seeing a few years ago that a Roman Catholic parish near where I live here, somebody went, and I was handed the bulletin, and it said they're going to have a Pope Francis study group. And I thought, why would anybody want to? You study what this man says, and you're going to be straying farther and farther from the Christian faith. And this is an indication of the dangers of this entire idea of authority.